This is The Gorge. This is a podcast where my friend Sarah and I gorge ourselves on a topic every week. The Gorge is brought to you by Coffee, not Patreon, Coffee, ko-fi.com/THEGOR. You can give us money and it'll help us out and be cool. And so, Sarah, what are we talking about this week?
Well, we're talking about a thing that I know Benjamin's very excited about. We're talking about Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
Chrono Trigger for the Super NES, the PlayStation, the Nintendo DS, the iMode, whatever that is.
I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of it, and I'm going to click this Wikipedia link as soon as we're done with this. So iOS, like iPhones, Android, Windows, and Apple TV, which I guess is because it's on the iPhone. What the hell is an iMode? I'm dying to know what
is
iMode
it. Tell me what it is.
It doesn't. So Wikipedia is useless because when you click iMode in that link, it takes you directly to mobile phone. So
it must be some like
phone thing.
I guess it would have to be a phone thing then.
I guess it's maybe like a Chinese thing, you know, because they have their own phone OSs and stuff. Maybe
it's like that one weird port of RE4.
The Zeebo.
The Zeebo.
Yes. It's Chrono Trigger runs on the Zeebo. That's what it is. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Chrono Trigger is on everything.
It's on everything you'd want it to be on, basically, because it's also, that list doesn't include it, it's also on the PSN for PS3, and I don't think Vita, even though it should be on the Vita.
Is it not? I think it is. No, I might be misremembering it. I'm not going to Google it right now. I'll follow it up on Twitter, maybe. And it is on the Wii. You mentioned that. You mentioned that it's on the Wii.
It's on the Wii Virtual Console. I don't know if it's on the Wii U.
I don't know. It's a thing to look into as well. But I know the Wii Virtual Console is closing soon, or it's already closed.
Yeah, it's either is shutting down or all the games you downloaded are still preserved, but you cannot use it anymore. I think it is shut down for good now. I think it's just the Wii U one. Yeah.
That's the downfall of digital distribution right there. It's you can't buy any new ones because it's out there. Anyways, that's a whole other conversation. Hey, we're talking about Chrono Trigger.
We are, which it's funny because all these different ports of Chrono Trigger really run the gamut of good and bad.
Of great and garbage.
The obviously the SNES and the DS ports are great.
Mm-hmm.
The PS1 port, not
so much.
quite as great.
So much.
Fortunately, the PSN version is fine. The Wii version is fine. The mobile version and the PC version are garbage, and they should never ever buy them.
You should not buy them. You should never buy them. Actually,
I've never seen a patch for a game that was we took things out. It's better because things we put in are gone.
Oh no! And they still can't fix the Garbo iPhone overlay. Why would you?
I don't know why you would put a mobile interface UI over your PC version of a game.
Which could completely... It could be played totally fine with just a keyboard, you know? You can play Chrono Trigger perfectly fine with just a keyboard. You don't need all your shitty touch interface crap, you know?
In fact, is how I played it really early on because I emulated it.
Did you really? That was your first experience? Your first... I mean, I know
It was.
I know the story of when you were a kiddo.
Yeah, but before I got my copy of it, I emulated it because I was I can't just play this game at my cousin's house. I need to play it now.
And hey, emulators are that's what they're there for. They're there to preserve little pieces of gaming history that you otherwise can't get your hands on, you know?
It's funny because I remember being being like really paranoid because it is illegal. You can't pirate games. That's illegal. It's bad.
The youth.
Oh boy. Oh, this is so stressful, but it'll be worth it to play Chrono Trigger. And
you were so young.
Oh, I was like 12. Like,
right.
Like the back then emulation for SNES games had a problem, which is that they couldn't display the filtration effect that a lot of Square Enix games used back then. Where they would have like kind of like an overlay, like a semi-transparent overlay, which Chrono Trigger uses liberally.
Right, for like fog and stuff.
Yeah, for fog, for clouds and everything like that. So in like early ROMs of that game, it was solid. It was not transparent at all. Which meant when you got to 2300 AD and you went into like a laboratory, it was just clouds.
Oh, no!
And you could see nothing.
Oh my god!
So what you would have to do is what you would have to do is disable that layer.
Yeah.
Like ZSNES had like a way to like disable layer effects, and you'd have to disable that. But that transparent overlay was on the same layer as the text.
Oh
no! So like if you were in a cutscene or in a battle, you'd have to like keep flicking it on and off to see either the text or what's going on the screen.
Oh my god! That is a nightmare! Oh, and I thought my first experience with Chrono Trigger was bad.
So that was weird.
Oh my god, that is hilarious.
There are certain bits where it's like, and I didn't know what that was at the time. Like I didn't know that's what was happening. I just thought there was like some weird like glitch or something with my game.
Like anti-piracy, like measures.
So yeah, that was how I dealt with it the first time. You know, you do what you have to.
Right, of course, to play your illegal video game. No, my first experience was just with the PlayStation 1 version, which was, Garbo. But it was I mean, it is relatively functional, I just got good at not needing to open the menu very often,
Yeah, you like I said, you make do. You work around whatever like hitch you have to enjoy the game,
Because Chrono Trigger is just that good.
It's worth it because it's worth it.
It is absolutely worth all of its headaches to just be able to play it, because it's so like there's still nothing really like it,
Not even its own sequel is anything like Chrono Trigger.
Oh, and I mean, like, though we'll get into that. I feel like that is a way to start people yelling at me on Twitter. Because Chrono Cross is a good game, and I would fight every single person on the internet with my bare hands to justify Chrono Cross's existence, because it's a damn good game. But it is very, very like radically different than Chrono Cross in pretty much every single way.
It's kind of funny because I've kind of noticed this, like reading up on it. There are so many like PS1 Square Enix games that started as something different and then became a thing. Like,
Chrono Cross has always been a sequel to Trigger. But
didn't it start off as like an unrelated concept, and then they made it a sequel to Chrono Trigger?
No, I think it started out as a text-based, or like kind of almost like a visual novel kind of game called Radical Dreamers, right? And Radical Dreamers is technically, I think, canonically part of Chrono Trigger, because it mentions Vegas.
It's a midquel between Cross and Trigger.
It's like a semi-canon midquel. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's the Chrono Trigger like timeline is weird.
It's murky.
Because like it's only 3 games, and one of them may or may not exist.
And one of them you have to use like a fan translation. It's very Yoko Taro. Where like part of the canon is only in Japanese, and you have to rely on the generosity of fans to get you there. But that's not where we're talking. I got off on a tangent. But there's still nothing like it, you know?
What I was gonna say though, like was that like how Final Fantasy VII started off being Parasite Eve, and then Parasite Eve man. Because like, and then 7 became 7, and then Parasite Eve, they made Parasite Eve with like the leftovers of the early 7, even though Parasite Eve is based off of a book.
You know, it's fine. It's fine. Nothing about old PS1 JRPG development makes any goddamn sense.
No, Chrono Trigger is a game. There's nothing like it because like you don't have that team. They were like, let's get these juggernauts of development together and they'll make a game. Like this would be like a game jam between like Miyamoto and Yoko Taro and Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, it's Yoshinori Kitase. It's designed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, who is Final Fantasies 1 through 9, I think. The art is Akira Toriyama, and the music is it's not just Nobuo Uematsu, it's also Yasunori Mitsuda, who is a god. You know, like that is
amazing.
That is such a literal dream team of game devs. There's nothing like it.
You have like the best of the best at the time working on this game. You know, you would it's inconceivable to have this kind of these powerhouses working together,
and it all just kind of came together in this in systems that you still don't see get utilized in modern JRPGs. And I mean, we're talking about things that I feel like should be standard.
Should be the norm.
Dual attack, like dual text and triple text, should be the norm. And yet they're so rare that anytime a game does them, it immediately jumps very high on my list. See Tales of Exillia. Any game that takes the time.
You know, for years we had the problem, like before, you know, back then we had the problem of like you have to have random encounters in your game because you cannot display enemies on the field. It takes too much memory up. And Chrono Trigger fixed that with having like fixed battles.
Yeah, the screens are fixed.
Yeah. You don't go to a battle mode, you fight on the field. Enemy positioning matters in some of your attacks. The enemies are what makes Chrono Trigger feel so alive is that all these enemies are just hanging out, you know? And they're not just like wandering in like a set path, they're like doing stuff.
Yeah, they're checking things, or they're walking back and forth from water because some animal enemy types do that.
The first thing you do when you get to 600 AD, and when you walk down the mountain, is you see 2 imps playing soccer with a roly-poly.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, my God. That's such a nostalgia bomb for me. I don't know. Yeah. The first time I played the game, it was just... I don't know. There's something about Chrono Trigger that at the very beginning of it just kind of hooks you, and you're immediately like, oh, this is something kind of special. Maybe it's the music. I feel like the music is a huge piece of it.
It's the music and just immediately seeing like the sprite work that goes into it. Just right away, because Chrono gets up and he does his like little victory pose, like stretches in the morning, and you're like, oh, this isn't Final Fantasy. Everyone has like a total of like 8 sprites depending on which direction they're facing and if they're walking back and forth. You know, this is
they're not like little squatty sprites. Yeah.
They're animated. They're not little square blocks. These are animated characters, and they have like a gamut of like emotions, and animations, and detail put into them. The
Toriyama's character designs just
Toriyama's designs are so good in this game.
It's so solid because it's not just that they're good; it's that they are like stand out.
Yeah,
they really stand
because
out.
You know. I think, like, I don't know what it is, but, like, I know he Toriyama's, like, given Dragon Quest. He's like, you do all it for Dragon Quest. You know, that's, like, his other thing. But, like, I don't know what it is about Chrono Trigger's character designs and, like, settings, but, like, I think it just stands out way more than anything in Dragon Quest.
I think it's because Chrono Trigger was so unique. It's really there. Even its sequel is so radically different from it. It's not that Toriyama made a bunch of Chrono games after Chrono Trigger. It's that there's only one Chrono Trigger. And so, like, Dragon Quest, as much as I love the design aesthetic of Dragon Quest, I think...
I do too, for sure.
There's an art book coming out later this year of all of Toriyama's incredible art for Dragon Quest. I'm probably going to buy it. But all of those designs it's cohesive. They're all part of the same world. And kind of as a result, not like they're not obviously in the same world, because Dragon Quest games take place in different universes, like Final Fantasies. But because they all kind of have a similar aesthetic, they can tend to run together, if that makes any sense.
You know what I think it is, actually? I think it's that, and it just hit me. It's because Chrono Trigger allows Toriyama to flex every muscle he has.
Oh, absolutely. That's 100% what it is.
Different human characters in different attire. You've got different types of creatures and monsters and alien things. You can have him draw different levels of tech. Like, everything he's really, really good at, he gets to show off in this game because of the time travel mechanic.
Yeah, the time travel mechanic, and the kind of the interesting nature of the world itself. Even like Chrono's home timeline isn't quite just hard fantasy. It's kind of a combination of like diesel punk.
That it's the Dragon Ball, fantasy kitchen sink thing where, he's got magic and like monsters, but his house has a fridge and modern like kitchen area. Luca builds a bipedal robot.
She builds, and her whole house is full of just interesting, like I said, kind of diesel punky tech that's very clunky, but somehow very efficient and all seems to work.
You've got the telepod, the teleporter stuff, and, right next door is your big medieval castle. With a queen and a big fancy dress and a king with a dungeon, but the dungeon is guarded by a giant robot dragon thing. A giant robot dragon. It's this great combination of just, like, everything that Toriyama's really good at in one game.
And because of that, this kind of hybrid of all of the things that Toriyama does really well, you get kind of a fantasy setting that really stands out, even in its very fantasy timelines. The two major fantasy timelines is 600 AD and Zeal. And Zeal, and Zeal's like fantasy world is so different to other games' fantasy worlds. I don't know, something about it just has kind of like a richness to it that I don't know how to put into words.
Like, in a game that's as amazing as Chrono Trigger, Zeal is absolutely the standout time period in terms of, like, design and, like, what happens in it.
It's like the most important part.
And what's great about Zeal is that Zeal comes so late in the game that it catches you off guard.
Oh man, and the fact that it doesn't stick around too long.
Yeah, because once you get to the end of time in Chrono Trigger, you have access to the main time periods. You have access to the future, to 600 AD. And then there's even a gate right away to 65,000 or 65 million BC. So you can't trigger anything yet, but you can still go to it and see it. And then you don't get to Zeal until your second real trip to 65 million BC.
And man, it's so cool. It's just so different.
Yeah, there's nothing like this game.
And that's kind of just, it's hard to even kind of put into words why. I mean, it's the design, it's everything. It all kind of comes together, and so just citing like one thing isn't enough. That alone doesn't put it into words enough.
There's just like every like little detail about this game is what makes it stand out, and like there's a reason it's always on like top 10 lists. You know,
absolutely.
It's because every part is so good and efficient and works and is unique and stands out, and like there's so much crap that should be the norm in RPGs that like this game does. You know, it
has so many endings. Like, to me, that's one of the things that's always blown my mind.
That's the most amazing thing, is that in a Super Nintendo game like this, where it has 12 different endings.
The DS adds 2 more?
Yeah, and it's all just like, you know, beat the game at random intervals in, you know, throughout the, you know, game, and then you'll get something unique and new. You know, and that's why I think it has such a very strong New Game Plus. You know, the New Game Plus, where everything, your money, your gear, your items, your levels, your skills, everything carries over, because it's encouraging you to beat the game at different intervals, because now you're at high enough level right away.
Right, yeah. You can actually go fight, you can actually get that one super, super hard ending where you beat Lavos with just Chrono, which I never got, because I don't hate myself.
And that's how you get the Dream Team ending, where you actually go meet the developers of the game.
And it's so charming. It has so much just charm and character and personality that just it shines through in every crevice of the game. You see it, and it just feels unique from the word go.
Yeah.
And
there's so many things like that stand out. Like, it does away with like conventional like Final Fantasy like magic systems, where it's everyone learns like you have like, it does away with like classes. You know, it's not fighter, mage, healer, thief, etc. Everyone has an element instead, and they all learn most of them learn magic, and the others can supplement it with physical power. And it's like that's like way different than how RPGs were normally built at the time.
Yeah, and so everybody, it's kind of like every possible team combo is viable, because there is no designated healer. Like, I guess technically Marl is the designated healer character, but you can sub in Frog just as easily.
Yeah, you can sub in Frog or Robo, and they can heal, or you can use certain double text to heal instead.
Which is amazing.
That's what makes this so like unique, and you know, it's having the double text and triple text help out, because they do this thing where it builds a team bond better than like any other RPG, because you're having characters who are working together and trusting each other in battle.
Yeah.
The only other game I know of that like does double text about as well as Chrono Trigger does is the Mario and Luigi games. Because they have bro attacks, where it's they use their abilities at the same time, and they have like different combo stuff for them, and that's like really cool. And it, you know, it's
good. It's good. The only game, and I'm going to cite this game until I die, Tales of Exillia is like the only other game that I can think of that I've played that has a really robust double text system. And I mean, it's like the whole game's battle system is built around it, which I feel is like the next logical progression of like of the double tech kind of system, is you build your entire combat system around it. But it sucks that it took 20 years for us to get another game with that degree of like of being entirely focused on making these double techs work, you know?
Right. You know,
and nothing.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, the fact that everyone learns like at least 3 different techniques with everyone else in the party, and then every combination of 3 gets their own triple tech. Like, there's so much that goes into it, and they're, you know, a lot of them eventually like become outdated and not viable, because you are just so strong you can just overpower anything without wasting the tech points. But until you get to that point, not only are they like cool and flashy, but they're also really efficient.
And Antipode never stops being viable. Ever.
Oh, Antipode's so cool.
So cool. It's so cool. And Robo and Chrono's healing skill is it's vital in some of those early game boss fights.
Chrono, Marl, and Robo have their triple tech is that they cast auto revive on everyone in the party. So if you go down, you immediately get back up, and that's helpful against some of these fucking marathon bosses you have to go up against.
Cheap ass bosses like in the future computer boss thing that I still hate after all of these years. The thing in the bunker, the computer with its two little robot buddies.
Oh, the mother brain?
Yeah, that thing. Fuck that thing.
Yeah. And that's like there's so many cool boss designs and enemies, and like there's different things that happen like in battle, which is really cool. Like there are enemies that you don't even have to fight because there's that one boss in the Blackbird that will just bail.
Yeah.
That's like you don't see these kind of like weird fun things anymore, and that's what makes Chrono Trigger stand out so much.
It gives it so much personality. It gives it so much to kind of you remember even all these years later. And I mean, I haven't played Chrono Trigger in years. I mean, but this is all just off of memory because Chrono Trigger just stands out that much in my memory. I know you've beaten it like 30 times, but I've only beaten it like 4, maybe.
And you're still like, you still know it.
I still know it like the back of my hand. I still remember the puzzles. I remember characters. I remember areas. Everything about it just kind of stands out to me.
Because you have a game that has this amazing design. You have the amazing character designs and environment designs. It's immediately memorable music. These great encounters and enemies and everything. It all just melds together perfectly.
This is just a gush episode, isn't it?
It is just, I get to talk about Chrono Trigger forever because I love this game. I love the characters. Robo and Frog are like the best ever. Ayla is awesome.
Everybody is good, even the bad guys.
Dalton's a shit, but whatever.
Oh yeah, but there's always one of those in every game, so whatever, it's fine.
Dalton still has one of the best moments ever, which is when he yells at the background music.
Oh my god, yes.
When he takes off with the epoch, and it plays the heroic triumphant music, and then he yells at them to stop the background music and play the crisis theme instead.
Oh my god. Oh man, it has one of my favorite gimmicks in any JRPG ever, too. And I know this will probably set you off on a big long rant, but it's fine. I love the stupid get items in different time periods gimmick.
Yes, that's so cool.
I don't know. Just like to my little brain, to when I was like a little kid, that just blew my goddamn mind. Where it was like, oh, I can get the same treasure chest twice? Like, that just wasn't a thing back then.
Like, you go through and you loot the treasure chests in 600 AD, and you go back into 1000 AD, and you're like, they're empty. And then you realize... Yeah.
But if you do it the other way around...
Yeah, you get double the items. Like, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
It teases with your expectations of like, oh, pick up every chest you see. It's like, no, wait, think about what you're doing for a second.
Yeah. And to me, the coolest like little hook of that is if you wait, I don't know why, but if you wait and you don't open that chest right now, if you wait until it's available in the future, then the gear that's in the future box is better because things just magically get better in treasure chests, I guess.
it's because in the in one of the castle where you get the upgraded Masamune, you if you check the chests but don't open them, then go back once the castle's been finished, you get better equipment, and that's just amazing.
So good. like all of those little things that just kind of come together, and we mentioned this in kind of like a pre-recording chat. The trial to me was the moment I realized, even as a little kid, I was just like, oh my god, this is so different.
The trial is the part of the game that shows you that this game is paying attention to what you're doing in ways that like you would never expect a game to do, because back then it was like you would never have seen anything like this in any other like Square Enix game, or Squaresoft game, I guess, back then.
It was so long ago. It was a Squaresoft game.
It was so long ago. But like, the fact, like, the defendant or the prosecutor will, like, bring up what you did at the Millennial Fair without, like, any, like, input, like no warning from the game that, like, oh, you're doing the thing now. It just, whatever you did, like, walking around and either causing mischief or being a nice guy would come back at you.
There's no, like, oh, your choices matter. Like, the game doesn't waggle its eyebrow at you and be like, this is very serious choice time. No, the game is just kind of keeping an eye on you, and it makes little tallies and says, you're doing this. So, it keeps track of it, and then when you get to the trial later, it's like, you were a jerk, and this is gonna penalize you in some way. That's great!
Yeah. That's like why the trials are like one of the biggest, like, points of the game, where it's like, oh, this is unique, this is special.
It really does make you realize that, oh, this is something different. This is a game that's had a lot of thought and just consideration put into it. A level of devotion to detail that you still don't see in some JRPGs 20 years later. That just blows my mind. The being able to wait out your prison sentence, or being able to read the weakness of the dragon monster, whatever, that's guarding the
dragon tank, and being able to check its weakness, which has one of the best bits ever, where it's like the like thing says, like, the dragon tank is pretty much indestructible so long as no one runs up to it and shoots it or hits it with a sword.
And what do you know? You've got a sword and Luca has a gun. Wow, it's amazing how that works out. Like, it takes itself seriously when it needs to, and it knows to be funny when it needs to, and the humor is that good old fashioned, like, SNES level humor that was always so great.
It's a lot of, I think a lot of it is, it's because the Toriyama art style really lends to that level of, like, kind of like Dragon Ball level of, like, seriousness and comedy. Like, it blurs that line really well.
Right.
Because, when you break out of when you defeat the dragon tank, how do you get across the broken bridge? Well, the Chancellor and his cronies form a human bridge that you just step on.
Yeah! Oh, man! Oh, that's so good!
And then, like, of course, like, 15 minutes earlier, you were, like, locked up in one of the dankest prisons ever, where, like, people literally rotted away into skeletons.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. And just...
Then you go, and then, like, immediately after all that, you go to 2300 AD, which is, like, the bleakest thing you'll ever, like, have. Like, I think it's very easy to compare this game to Final Fantasy VI because they came out, like, around the same time, and they both have kind of, like, not the same, but, like, very similar, like, attention to detail in their art style. And 6's World of Ruin is nothing like 2300 AD.
Right, yeah. 2300 AD is so grim. It's so, like, hopeless, even when you're riding on cars, as Ego Raptor says, but even, like, when you're doing, like, fun car chases, I just remember like when I was a kid, that moment where you fight your way to the food supplies and they've spoiled.
Yeah, the refrigeration mechanics failed and everything is rotten. And the guy who risked it all to get down there, he died for nothing.
Yeah, that's so... I mean, I was like...
And these people are alive. You know, these people are alive not because they've eaten or... They haven't eaten anything, but because they have a machine that lets them survive without needing to eat or sleep, you know?
Right, yeah. And so like they mentioned at one point that you can sleep in it all you want, but you'll never stop feeling hungry or something like that.
Yeah. Well, when you use the Enertron, you get, your HP PP restored, but you're still hungry.
Oh, it's so bleak.
It brings this idea that like these people aren't really surviving so much as they are like preserving themselves, basically.
Yeah, they're not living at all. It's just kind of like this awful slog of existence, and that is, it's a great motivation to make you want to go on this kind of hero's quest. Because the idea of Lavos is going to wake up and end the world is kind of a nebulous idea, and any other game would be like, well, this great ancient evil is going to wake up and end the world, and if you don't stop it, then it's all fucked. But 2300 AD does something different, where it actually shows it to you, and you understand, like, oh, this is what's waiting for us if we don't do something, and we're the only people who are capable of doing anything.
It's basically like, so Final Fantasy VI does a thing where like the villain wins, and you have to basically defeat him after the fact. But like the World of Ruin is still doing fairly all right for itself. Yeah, there's still a lot of towns and stuff, and people surviving. But like when you get to 2300 AD, the characters don't even think they're on Earth anymore.
Right, they think they've gone to some other like crazy planet.
They don't know, like the idea of this being their home is like inconceivable to them.
Right.
Of course, when you do find out what Lavos did, you get that shot of like 1999 AD, and it's just lush and green with these like clean looking futuristic domes and everything, and oh, they had so much hope for us back then, didn't they? 1999. They
really did think, like, oh, everything will be fine in the year 1999. Oh, no. We're sorry. I'm sorry.
Also, this game has, like, the bleakest fucking game over ever.
Oh my god, yeah.
No,
yeah.
But the future refused to change. Oh!
The future refused to change. That's such a good motivator! It's so strong! It's so, like... It's just like, ooh, this isn't like a game over. It's not an end. It's a you failed in your mission, and so, like, everybody is screwed. Like, what a great hook, like, because no matter what you do, no matter how much fun you have in the game, 1999 is always looming there in the distance, like, oh man, it's coming.
Once you leave 2300 AD and you get to the end of time, which that's a whole fucking discussion right there I want to get into in just a sec, but like, once you get there, the bucket to Lavos is always there. You can go to it at any time, and it is always threatening you.
Bucket to Lavos.
The bucket. Just go jump in the bucket.
Just jump in the bucket, which I love, because it's that great melding of clever 90s game humor and like deadly serious stakes. Yeah. Like, the stakes have never been higher, but you have to jump in a bucket to go fight the final boss.
Yeah. Although I love the end of time, though. Talking about fucking aesthetic, holy shit, God. The end of time is like, oh man, I would dream about the end of time back when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Just this single lamppost and this old man in this endless quiet void.
and the little excitement you get from, oh, there's a new time portal, was always so like satisfying to me when I was a kid. Those little things of what's behind this door, like what's waiting for me inside this time portal.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Oh, yeah.
That was always like the big door. Yeah.
Filling out that station, that little, it's like a train station almost, of just like little, like that 9x9 grid of portals you can go to.
It's totally what it is. It's like a train station. It's literally, I think, what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, the whole thing has the aesthetic of like a nighttime old 1800s train station. You got the man in the with the beard and the bowler hat and the cane, and he's just leaning there, and it's just him, and you have to leave a party member behind, and he's like, yeah, it looks bleak, but no harm will come to you here. But there's still, it's just like it's so desolate there.
It's mysterious. It's so foreign because the rest of the world is, even 2300 AD, the rest of the world is it's vibrant. It's got a lot of stuff going on. There's music, there's sound, there's roaring winds, there's nature, all of these incredible things, and you get to the end of the time and it's just an endless void and silence and an old man. How great is that? How
great is it? And I wish the DS version still did this, but whenever you swap party members, the end of time theme overtakes whatever theme is currently playing.
Oh man, I didn't even know that, because God, it's been so long.
Yeah, because I'm playing the DS version and I'm like, that's one thing they don't do, because like to swap party members in the DS version, you go through the main menu. But in the SNES version, you have a designated button to go to the party member screen, and it just plays the end of time theme.
Oh, that's neat.
And it's just like, because it reminds you that your party members are there. That's where they're hanging out. While you're doing all this.
So cool.
so many little cool things in this game. Learning magic from Specchio, the god of war, who gets stronger and stronger, and his appearance changes as you level up, because he says that like, you, however strong you see me is as strong as you are.
Yeah. I always liked that learning to, and I don't know why. I guess because I'm a big sucker for like environmental interaction gimmicks. Like little nods toward the player themselves. The whole, like, you have to run around the room X number of times.
You have to walk around the room 3 times. And technically, what's funny is the game, like, every guide you see says walk around 4 times because Specchio doesn't know how to count.
I think I do have to. I think I always did walk around 4 times.
You have to walk around 1 extra time because Specchio loses count.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does, because he says that. Like, if you talk to him after 3, I think he has a dialogue little thing that pops up and it says, "Oh wait, I lost count."
It's amazing. It's so good and it's so fun, and I love that everyone learns a different element, because again, that adds to the uniqueness of like double text and triple text, because every character does something that no other party member can do. Except for Magus, who learns all the, he learns Ice 2, Water 2, Fire 2, and Thunder 2. But, like, no one else has crossover abilities.
Right. And so it kind of means that everybody is important. Like I said, every kind of party config is viable. And so it means that you don't have to take anybody you really don't want to. And the beauty of Chrono Trigger is that you want to take everybody, because everybody is so likable.
And conveniently, you can swap out at any time, which is, really great, too,
Yeah, which is amazing.
Which is one of those, like, RPG things where it's like, why is this not the norm all the time?
Like being able to swap in and swap out all the time. Hey, again, that's a thing Exelia did. Wow, imagine that. It's almost like Exelia is a really good video game. And just...
Like, I want to go into like detail of like every single time period, because they're all so cool, And, like, I have things that are, like, they're not problems, but, like, when I think about them nowadays after playing this game, like, 30 times in, like, nonstop throughout my entire life, like, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I wonder why that is like that.
Like, what? Like, what? I know you've been dying to tell me these things for, like, literally 10 years.
There's one thing that is really weird, and I would love, like, an explanation for, and, like, I can supplant my own explanation for it. During Frog's flashback to when he's Glenn, and they get the hero medallion from, like, the Frog King, there is a girl with them.
Chris?
Yeah. There is... When they're there's a point where Cyrus and Glenn are fighting the Frog King, and he has the hero medallion. And behind Glenn is a generic girl sprite. You know, like the short-haired teen girl sprite?
Yeah.
She's behind Glenn. She's never mentioned anywhere, ever. But she's just some girl that's with the boys. And it's like, who is she?
Who are you?
Who is she? What is she doing? Like...
Was she like a cut character? Was she like it's just a thing they never fleshed out, but they left her dummy sprite in?
Yeah, like was she supposed, like, maybe like in the Japanese version, like they make mention of like, oh, we rescued this princess from the Frog King or whatever, but like, no, she's just there, and that's it. That's it. And I'm just like, who are you?
Turning into like a conspiracy theorist guy.
Yeah.
Like pieces of paper on a wall connected by string.
Well, interestingly enough, like the beta of the game was released recently, not like a handful of years ago. A ROM of the beta was released with a lot of the cut content that was supposed to be in the game and was shown off in demos and stuff that never made it in. Really? Including Ayla's side quest, which was the Singing Mountain.
Huh. I didn't even know about this, so you're gonna have to enlighten me.
So every character in the party has a side quest. It's sort of shaped with them. Marl has the rainbow shell. Luca and Robo have the forest. Robo has the factory where he was built. Magus has Ozzy / and Flea re-encounter. Frog has the Cyrus's grave site.
Ozzy / and Flea.
Ozzy / and Flea.
Just got that.
Yep. In perfectly fitting with Toriyama's character design. In Japan, they are soy, vinegar, and mustard, I think.
Of course, they're fucking food names.
But they got changed to Ozzy / and Flea. Also, I don't remember what their Japanese names are, but in Japan, they are not the three wise men. Like Balthazar, Melchior, and Gaspar. They have very different names, and like, that's like one of those, like, Ted Woolsey-isms, and I'm like, that's actually, like, legitimately better. That they're named after the wise men in the English version, instead of, like, their normal names.
Right, because that kind of connects better with, like, a Western audience than whatever their, like, Japanese names were. Like, it kind of has the same connotations. So it was one of those really good Woolsey-isms. Anyway, sorry, Isla's side quest. I just kind of had, like, a moment there where
the point is, Ayla doesn't have a side quest.
Oh, okay.
She kind of has one because you need to do stuff in 65 million BC to get the Sunstone.
Right.
But she doesn't have, like, a personal journey quest. Hers was originally going to be something called Singing Mountain, which if you look at, like, early beta screenshots or, like, demo clips, you can see this weird, unique mountain shape in 65 million BC. That exists on the world map, but can't be accessed at all. And that was originally going to be Ayla's side quest, whatever it was. You know, whatever the details were are lost to time. But the official Chrono Trigger soundtrack has the Singing Mountains theme as a unique track available. It's nowhere else in the game. There's actually there's actually 2 unique themes in the soundtrack. There's one labeled Singing Mountain and one labeled Battle 2, which is a very different, like, it sounds what it should have been was like a unique battle theme. Like just like a random battle theme, but it's nowhere in the game.
Oh, mysterious. I love video game mysteries.
So the DS port includes those 2 themes in the bonus content. Singing Mountain theme is the theme for one of the bonus dungeons, and the Battle 2 theme is in the little monster raising mini game that you can play.
Okay.
But so Ayla doesn't get a side quest. Hers was cut for whatever reason, and that's just like one of those things where it's like, like weird leftover bits where it's like, well, what else is a leftover? Because there's a line of dialogue in both the SNES version and the DS port, which tells me that this line was like meant to be there, where Gaspar at the end of time says, visitors are popping up every, more and more frequently now. And you never run into another time traveler.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I guess so.
They make it a point. To say that Gaspar says that, like, people are showing up at the end of time every day now. But
right.
Never encounter anyone else who travels through time.
Even, like, the villains aren't time travelers. They don't have that going.
Yeah, no. The only one who kind of does is Queen Zeal, because she sticks around in every time period, but she's more just lasting through the eras, because the Black Omen exists out of time. Yeah, the Black Omen exists out of time. Like, so what does that mean? Again,
crazy conspiracy theorist board with string and pictures.
Which, and then, furthermore, every game back then has that one, like, weird mistranslated line that's like, what does this mean? What explain more? Which is, in the SNES version, Gaspar has a line, when you're in side quest mode, like at the very end of the game, where it's just like, do everyone's side quest now? Which again, I think is fucking great. It's like, hey, I've always mentioned, like, your RPG has to have a thing where it's like, at the end game, you have to give me a reason to, like, delay fighting the final boss to go and do the side quest stuff. Right. Like, that has to be a reason why.
That is a thing that, like, most RPGs have picked up on, thank God.
Yeah, but, like, you occasionally get ones where it's like, we gotta fight the guy now! But, you can go back and do all your other shit. Like, Chrono Triggers is great because it's, hey, just go to the time period or whenever you want. He literally is not going anywhere.
He's a big bastard. He's not going anywhere.
You can always just go to 1999 AD. You're a time traveler.
Right.
But, when you're doing all your side quest stuff, Gaspar has a line in the SNES version that says, one of you is close to someone who needs help, find this person fast. And everyone thought that was about Shala. Because...
Isn't it Luca's mom?
No one. It's a mistranslation.
No one? Oh!
What it's supposed to be is... What he does, what Gaspar does is you talk to him and he says, oh, there's a restless soul in the hero's grave, or oh, there's a shell that glimmers like a rainbow, or there's a woman trying to plant. He lists like what you need to do, and as you do the side quests, he stops saying them.
Right.
After he goes through the list of what you need to do, the actual line is, people around you need help. Find them, and people like that are close to each and one of you needs help. Find these people and help them out. It's not like directed at any one person. It's saying you all have friends that need your help. Go help them.
Okay. Yeah. I feel that.
It got mistranslated as one of you is close to someone. Everyone thought it was about Shala, and you can say Shala was the first heiress. Let's be real.
Shala is the first heiress of the JRPG, because Shala is she can't be saved. You can't help Shala, which sucks.
Fuck a Triforce, fuck a heiress, like it's Shala. Shala was around before all you bitches.
Shala was the original, like, sad girl that we all wanted to help.
Fuck a Luigi and Mario 64. Nah. Before all that, it was Shala. Shala and Leo in
Shala.
Final Fantasy VI.
Poor Shala.
You can't save Shala, you can't save Leo. Nope, can't be done. Not even in the DS port, you can't save them.
Bullshit. That's bullshit. But, there's a whole... That's
Chrono Cross has to happen instead.
Chrono Cross has to happen instead, and boy, is Chrono Cross fucking weird. Have I mentioned that?
It's very weird.
The weirdest goddamn game.
Yeah, there's also, like, the simple fact that time travel doesn't work in Chrono Trigger. The rules don't work. Okay?
Now, I know this is one that you have been holding on to for a very, very long time, since we've started this podcast. So, Ben, tell me how time travel does not work in Chrono Trigger.
Okay, so, first thing that happens in Chrono Trigger is Marle goes back in time, and she is found wandering around the mountains by the Guardia Royal Guard. And they think she is Queen Leene. And so they bring her back to the castle because Queen Lene's been kidnapped. They bring her back to the castle. Chrono arrives back in the past, and he goes to meet Marle. And as they're talking, Marle vanishes. And Luca hypothesizes it's because they didn't technically rescue Queen Leene dies, and thus the royal line can't continue. They have to go and save Queen Leene so that Marle can be restored.
Okay.
The problem is, this is not how time travel works going forward.
Right, okay.
Because everything else in the game doesn't follow this rule.
I feel like this is one of those conversations that's about to give me a headache, the way, like, time travel in Dragon Ball gives me a headache,
I'll try to keep it, like in order, but, like, there are several things that you change back in the past that aren't part of this, like, ripple proof effect. Like, Marle dies, or Marle is never born. She is taken to a void where, like, she doesn't exist, right?
Right. There's that one really creepy line where she says, like, oh, it was like nothing, and I was just cold, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. The problem is, so the implication is that, like, whatever changes that can happen in the past can negatively affect the future. However, none of this happens going forward. There's a bit in the very end of the game where in the epilogue, they drag Chrono to the castle because they're talking about his stay of execution has been revoked and he's going to be executed. And, Luca bursts in. She's like, no, we had an excuse. We had to. And King Guardia reveals that he knows that they tried to change the future. The person who tells them this is Doan, who is the descendant of the director in the future. The head of one of the Doans in the future comes and tells you, hey, we know that you changed the future and saved everyone from Lavos. But by the Marle disappearing logic, Doan shouldn't exist either, because that happened 300 years later.
Oh no.
You know what but you know what I mean? Like, you get what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
They prevented this huge cataclysmic event, which should mean that, like, characters shouldn't exist anymore. Like, people in the future shouldn't exist.
They made like a huge change to the timeline, yeah.
But Doan still exists, and Robo still exists. Like, they have a bit where, like, Robo is like, they don't know if Robo will continue to exist in the future because they changed the timeline. But Doan is there, and Doan continues to exist, so obviously Robo does too, because Robo didn't vanish when they defeated Lavos.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah.
Things like you go and you go to Medina Village, which is the monster village in 1000 AD. When you defeat Magus, they go from worshipping Magus to worshipping a statue of Ozzy. When you kill Ozzy, they go from worshipping a statue of Ozzy to just celebrating humanity in general. Like,
yeah.
none of their population doesn't change at all. Like, none of their numbers increase or decrease. They're still the same people. They just worship a different figure. Like, there's no temporal consistency into how events should play out. In Chrono, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. That's why
Pepe Silva. Why can't I find this guy named Pepe Silva?
That's why there has to be an entity guiding them. Because this is your white whale of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
When you do Fiona's Forest side quest, and that you leave Robo in the past, and he goes through 400 years of replanting the forest. When you pick him up, he talks about, they have a little cutscene where the whole party's gathered around a campfire, and they just start talking about catching up on what's been happening. Robo explains that he's actually, the whole Robo thing is another can of worms that I'll go into in a bit, but
boy,
Robo talks about how he thinks that their actions are being guided by a force, by an entity.
Oh, no.
Something that's leading them to make sure that the right things happen. Oh, the only way all this works, and that time travel works for the better in every situation for the party, is because there has to be some sort of divine force that's helping to make sure people still exist in the right way, and things don't get worse, and people aren't born because they shouldn't be.
Okay, but then the question is who? I mean, this is we're in pure speculation mode.
This is where the gorge becomes
gorgy.
This is serious indulgence.
This is pure, unadulterated, 100% the gorge. This is what this podcast exists for, to talk about really, really arbitrary video game shit. Who do you think it is then? Do you have a theory, or is it just kind of one of those oh my god, I need some kind of point in the right direction?
I literally think they are being guided by God.
God, actual God?
By the actual whatever the big man upstairs is for the Chrono Trigger world, whatever, fucking Maxwell or Odin or fucking whoever you want it to be. I think they are being guided by the one creator above all. Whatever.
Yes, that makes sense, because there are churches and shit in Chrono Trigger.
There's a cathedral that apparently got destroyed between 600 AD and 1000 AD. I don't know what happened. Maybe there was their own damn crusades or something. Whatever. But
right?
Yeah, there is a cathedral. There are places of worship. I literally think the party is on a mission from God.
Oh man! Have you been hanging on to that one? Everybody wearing black shades.
I've been hanging on to that. Well, actually, sunglasses are an equipment you can get from the Rainbow Shell. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, you're on a mission from God.
But, so my theory has been, it's been this way actually for a very long time, since high school even.
Boy.
First incident with Marl, the one that contradicts everything else about time travel, is how time travel should work without divine intervention. Which is, casual misuse of time travel can have catastrophic events, such as wiping out the royal family line.
Right.
Oh, I think after that, whatever god or entity exists saw that happen and went, oh shit, I need to watch these kids from now on.
Oh no, I didn't think they'd figure out time travel. Shit.
And so that's why after that, everything else works out fine. Now, you could also say this has to do because the fact that the initial time travel was wild and unprecedented, and every subsequent time travel event happens with either Luca's Gate Key or with the Epoch.
Right.
But, this is all crazy levels of speculation that are all fucking over the place. but it's fun.
Somebody on Twitter is going to be like, "You're fucking crazy," and it's going to be like, "You're goddamn right, we're crazy." That's what the whole point of this podcast is to be really, really enthusiastic about certain things.
Listen, I have one game that I know like the back of my hand, and it is this one.
That's amazing. One game. You know, and I respect that. I do. I have not played Chrono Trigger as much as you have. I don't quite have the same degree of, like, lore absorption that you do. But I do have Chrono Cross, which is a game I love and I don't understand. Or I should say I understand, but nobody else does.
And so that's what makes this really interesting is that, like, you know, this isn't stuff that, like, I developed the first or second time I played it. This is a game that, like, I've played so many times that all this stuff just started clicking with me, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute!
Right, just a goddamn minute, this shouldn't work!
That's not how that works!
Yeah, because when you're, like, a stupid kid, you don't think about it.
And then also it's because this is a game that deals with time travel and like going back and fixing mistakes and like changing events throughout history. Like when you think about like how much like reversing and like going back and like doing all this stuff, like how this affects things, like you're like, wait a like the Robo thing is a great example of it. Leaving Robo back in 600 AD so he can continue to 1000 AD and plant the forest is interesting. Because you send Frog, like, at the end of the game, you send Frog back to 600 AD, where technically Robo's still planting.
Oh my god.
There is a Robo that exists from 600 AD to 1000 AD.
Oh no, now my head's starting to hurt. This is what, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it fucking is.
Oh no! Oh my god! So there's like two Robos.
There's two Robos. There's the one that you leave behind, and he is just planting all day, every day, and then you pick him up in 1000 AD, and then you can go back to 600 AD and see Robo planting.
Oh yeah! Oh no! Oh no!
Because they saw fit to like put Robo in the overworld doing little fun things. He's like morphed himself into a tractor and he's like plowing the fields, or he's being a scarecrow out in the fields, or he's just like he turns his head into a sprinkler and he's just spraying water everywhere. And it's cute and fun. Then you think, oh god. That means he knows that you win because Frog goes home.
Ugh. No. Oh no. It's been a while. It's been since the score episode that like
That means Chrono, Luca, and Marl grew up with a cathedral just south of their hometown that has a weird decrepit robot in it.
Wait. What?
Because at some point in that time, Robo breaks down, and they build a cathedral of the forest, and they place Robo in the head of the cathedral, you know, as like a you know, a thing to give thanks and tribute to.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
That happened in the past. Technically, in the refreshed timeline, they grew up with a forest just south of their hometown. This lush, beautiful forest, and a robot they'll meet later.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I hate time travel. I hate time travel stories. Chrono Trigger sucks. Oh no! Oh my god! This is why time travel is the worst, and also kind of the best, but also like. No, because, like, does that mean that, like... Does that mean that, like...
What? Like what?
That, like, would they just get new memories?
this is one of the problems, because Chrono Trigger uses the messiest, most inconsistent, and most difficult version of time travel. There are 3 kinds of time travel. There are 3 kinds. Fate, free will, and overwrite. Fate is that time travel happens because it happened in the past. You go back in time to kill Hitler, and your attempt to kill Hitler is what gets him really, really mad, and he decides to declare war. You did it.
Standard.
You can never kill Hitler. You can't. You cannot change the past no matter what. If you go back in time, it's because you were supposed to do it.
Okay.
There's free will, which is Dragon Ball Z, or anything that creates a branching timeline. You go back, you change an event, it creates a divergence in the timeline. Your timeline still happens, but a new one happens parallel to it.
Okay. Yeah. That's Dragon Ball Z for sure.
There's Overwrite, which is Chrono Trigger and Back to the Future, which is you go back in time, you change something, and that creates a ripple effect that changes the future going forward. Anything you change in the past will overwrite what already was supposed to happen and change it into whatever you do. Back to the Future, Barty goes back in time, teaches his dad confidence. His dad is a successful writer. The old version of his dad does not exist anymore. Completely different person now. That's the messiest version of time travel, because if you think about what that means for the protagonist's past, your head hurts. Because how do their memories work now?
Right.
The Chrono, Marl, and Luca would have grown up with a forest south of them by the end of the game.
Right.
But they didn't, because when you start the game off, the forest isn't there.
Right, so when they were kids, technically there was never a forest south of their hometown. It was just a desert.
For them. But in the new timeline, it would have had to have been there. Yeah.
I don't like it. No, sir.
and which means that, and going further from that, which means there's the forest. We'll call them the forest trio. The forest trio would have still had to have gone through their whole lives and then gone to the Millennial Fair on the same day and had the telepod accident, so they could become the hero versions that we play as. Because that still needs to happen, so the forest can happen down the line.
No, okay, but that can't. It's like it doesn't. Oh no, I hate time travel because I'm thinking that it doesn't loop, but it would have to loop, right? It would have to be like a stable time loop.
It would have to loop. Eventually, in a way, what happens is that it goes from being Overwrite to being Fate.
So okay, but then Chrono Trigger is just the story of starting the Fate leg of the time travel story. Then Chrono Trigger, I guess, would have to be the beginning of the story, and then it would have to just loop forever after that, right?
It's like the thing where if you think about, there's that old riddle, I think it's Time Splitters 2, I think, where at one point your future self gives you a key. Right. He says, here's the key that you'll need to open this door later on. Go through the game, you open the door, and you circle back to give your past self the key. Where did the key come from?
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
At some point in however many loops there were, it started. Somebody got it. I don't know. So there had to be a beginning point of a time travel loop. There has to be. Everything has to start.
There has to be a loop at the very beginning where you got the key because you picked it up off of a counter. And that starts the loop, the infinite loop. That's what happens in Chrono Trigger. They have to start.
Chrono Trigger has to be the beginning of the story, because like everything has to start at some point. Like all things have to start, which is really kind of a little bit philosophical. But you know what I mean.
There are a lot of little things that you change that will become the norm going forward. The reason you get arrested and are executed for the simple quote unquote crime of maybe possibly kidnapping the princess, when in reality everyone knows that all you did was just kind of help her walk around town. You got lost somehow, and then you returned her. You get arrested because after defeating the monsters that kidnapped Queen Lean in 600 AD, the Chancellor says they need to enforce stricter punishments for acts of kidnapping.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
And that's why the prison gets built. That's why the crazy prison gets built, because it's not there in 600 AD.
And because it's something, so you started the loop. I guess that's, to me, like that solves kind of it doesn't make the brain hurty like much better. Like my brain still hurts, but it explains it, you know?
And again, a lot of this is helped if you really do believe in the idea that there is some sort of divine hand that is guiding the timelines to make sure events happen the way they're supposed to, for the benefit of everyone.
Right. Oh, I don't like it. So, is Lavos an alien? I feel like this is like kind of a divergence off a thing. But like, did they ever explain what Lavos is? Do I remember that?
Lavos is a parasite. Lavos is a parasite from space. What Lavos' deal is that it burrows itself in the center of a planet after crashing into the surface. It burrows itself deep underground, and from there, it absorbs life and causes evolution to happen in the creatures on the surface in such a way that they serve as the best possible food source for it. Once it's done and the planet is devoured, it launches its spores out that go into space and can continue to consume planets.
That's creepy. So that means there's like other Lavoses out there, right?
Yup.
Oh, that's uncomfortable.
It is, and because of that, that's like the big twist at the very end of the game is the reveal that all life and evolution and technological advances happen because Lavos willed it that way.
And that's fucked up. So I guess that's why you can't like go kill it in a crib, right?
Right. Well, you also can't because it's buried in the core of the Earth until it comes out in 1999 AD.
But you couldn't like find some way to magically dig your way down to the core of the Earth and kill it, because like otherwise you'd really fuck everything up, right?
Oh yeah. And so here's another thing that I find very interesting, and this is something that didn't occur to me until very recently, actually, during this current playthrough that I'm just kind of like went through to kind of like refresh myself of the game.
Right?
There had to have been a near mass extinction of humanity between 65 million BC and 12,000 BC. Between prehistoric and antiquity. There had to have been a mass extinction of humanity, because there's no way we would have the level of tech we have in 1000 AD if we had 65 million years of human evolution to go through.
Okay, but then, like, going back to the whole Lavos thing, like, everybody, like, like, Lavos is what causes evolution to happen and to make, like, people get smart and stuff, right?
Right.
So...
That's why Ayla doesn't have magic, is because magic is a construct of Lavos. Okay,
so Lavos... Okay, so, like, refresh my memory, because I should have done a replay for this, but I had other things to play as well. Lavos lands before Ayla's time period or during?
Oh, during.
Hey, that's right. That's right.
When you fight Azula in Tyranno Lair,
right.
She is waiting for the red star, which is Lavos, to fall.
Okay. So then, oh my God. Oh well, all right. Well, put a pin in that one. Just stick a pin on the red star thing, right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so like maybe it's just a case of like if Lavos never showed up, then it would have been cavemen forever, right? Like it would have just been cavemen forever. Maybe instead of like a mass extinction event, maybe it just Lavos takes a really long ass time to get things going.
Now, what I think it would have to be is that because they are still in the Ice Age in 12,000 BC,
right?
I think the only solution I can think of is that Lavos created an environment that prevented the development of technology by just being that harsh of an environment until magic users started developing.
Right. I mean, that makes sense, because if it is kind of like, if it can kind of control weather and evolution and all that stuff, and I guess it could do that kind of thing because it wants to eat like magic users, right? Like that's kind of what it's after, right?
It develops magic so that humanity can have a more power and more energy for it to devour later.
Right. Okay. So that makes sense. That I get. So going back to the pin we stuck in the board, so we can say maybe Lavos like prevented the development of things for 65 million years until we get to antiquity.
Yes.
So going back to the pin, I stuck in our little imaginary conspiracy board, right?
Yep.
So Azula is waiting for the red star.
Yes.
Oh, how does it know about the red star?
Because she can look up into the sky and see a big red glowing object that is slowly getting bigger.
Okay, so it's not just like a weird prophecy thing, because if that was the case, I would actually kill myself.
Oh, no. There is a big red glowing object in the sky, and Azula believes that she can use that to wipe out the apes. So the reptiles.
Man, it's been a while. I'm glad.
So the reptiles can.
I remember I remember like 85% of Chrono Trigger, and I should have played it before we talked about this. But again, I had other things to play. So I'm glad I have like a crazy person who's played it like 40 times to refresh my memory.
Have me who like remembers like specific lines of dialogue.
Yeah, that's fine though. That's good. I think everybody has like that one piece of media that they have just obsessively consumed every possible detail about, you know?
Yep.
Oh, okay, so there wasn't...
This one.
That's fine, because there's a lot of interesting things in it to consume. You have basically... And it never stops, because there's still like weird secrets kind of hidden away in the game, you know?
Because like they never like made a lot more. So all of these like points will never get addressed.
Especially because Chrono Cross really doesn't care about answering any of that. Whoopsie. Like, I get why people don't like Chrono Cross. Okay, we can't do this conversation right now. We will eventually be talking about Chrono. I know. Eventually we'll talk about it. But you have to actually play it first. But the point I'm trying to make is that Chrono Cross does not give a single fuck about answering any of these questions whatsoever. And in fact, it just introduces new ones. So welcome to hell. They're never making Chrono Break. That's the point I'm making. We're never going to get Chrono Break.
Questions.
It's fine. We're never getting Chrono Break. That's the real tragedy.
Yeah.
It's not Isla or Shala, you know? No, it's that we're never getting Chrono Break.
It's very upsetting because I want more of this. And don't tell me to play Crimson Echoes. It's not that great and it was never actually finished.
Oh wait, was Crimson Echoes that fan game or something?
Was that like fan game that like tried to continue the story but like didn't I don't think it did a good job with like the plot and characterization and stuff and
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember those dark days. I remember reading a lot. I don't know. I think Chrono Trigger was the first game. This is kind of like a side, like a little tangent. Chrono Trigger was like the first game I actively like sought out and consumed a truly ungodly amount of fan fiction for.
Because there's a lot of like material for you to work with in this game.
And it's not like I was going after, like it was, because, like 13-year-old girl, right? Go after all like the shipping fanfiction and stuff. That's what they do. No, like my little idiot brain was like, I'm going to find every single piece of speculative fanfiction I can get my hands on so I can try and get a few more answers out of this game. Never mind the fact that I actually played Chrono Cross first, right? Like, Chrono Cross came first, and I was still like, no, I need more. I need an explanation for all of this.
You got all the answers for questions you didn't know existed.
I got all the answers. No, that's not it at all. I got 0 answers and more questions. There is no answers to be had in any of the Chrono games. They just kind of are. And, like, I like that. Like, it's kind of like a weird, like, fever dream aspect to it that makes me think a lot of Nier. But I think of Nier a lot lately. But, like,
honestly, what is 2300 AD but not the world of Nier Automata, where robots rule?
It kind of is.
Robo would fit right into Nier. He would just slide right in with no problem.
Robo literally looks like the Toriyama version of the Nier machine. So, yeah.
Really does.
He's got, like, the same kind of cutesy round body and the big round eyeballs, and he's got, like, the segmented joints and the little clumpy hands. Like, yeah, no. Robo fits in perfectly with the machine life forms. He could just, like, slide right in and be like, yes, I am a machine. This cannot continue. Become as gods.
What would be funny is, like, if you were to, like, put Robo into Automata, he would look like the machines, but then play like A2.
Yeah,
because he has like everything. Has all the fucking lasers and like tread wheels and everything. Like,
that'd be rad. Pascal actually does look like kind of a slimmed down version of Robo, doesn't he?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about that a little bit more, I wonder if that's intentional. Huh. Here's my hot galaxy brain take. It's all the same universe. Give me like 2 weeks, and I bet I could come up with a way to make it all work. Make Drakengard and Nier and Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross all click together, and then I'll kill myself because there's nothing else I can do with my life. You know?
Circle is complete.
Circle is complete. It's just more weird JRPGs for the rest of my life. But no, man, it's how long have we been talking? Because we're using a new recording system, and I don't know how many hours we've been going.
Like an hour and a half, almost.
Okay. We can get into just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
I don't mind. I don't mind one bit. This is what I've been like.
I know you've been waiting for it. Because I gotta get this out of my system. Like, the fact that this game just casually kills off its main character, like, destroyed my life.
We haven't even talked. Like, again, fuck a Eris. No, Chrono did it first. Excuse me, no. No, Chrono dies.
Chrono literally straight up 100% bites it in the middle of the goddamn game.
There's 2 things that are just like the most heartbreaking thing I could ever hear in my life. One is, of course, the fact that you can beat the game without Chrono. You don't have to revive him. You can just go and beat the game. Which, is heartbreaking in of itself, Like, awful. The second is, do you know how they were originally going to revive Chrono?
I almost don't want to know, but I'm going to ask you anyways.
The original, plan that was, discussed early on was, don't revive Chrono. You go back and pick up Chrono before the Millennial Fair. And then there's a bittersweet moment at the end where you have to drop him off back in his timeline knowing that he's going to go and die.
No, I hate
And
that.
Then they went, no,
That's a little too grim. That's a little too grim. Plus, it would make no goddamn sense.
No, because again, it would go against what they say about time travel, and like, how would this Chrono know his abilities and stuff? That like, you would be like level 1 again, and that's just weird. So,
and he would have to like, and then like that Chrono would be like the beginning of like a Chrono who knows what's going to happen to him, and he still just kind of casually marches off to get killed. No way, wouldn't work. Not bad idea. So glad they changed that one.
Oh yeah, for sure, because I would have died.
Yeah, but still, the fact that they just kind of casually off their main character in the middle of the game, like, hey, have fun, here's this to ruin your life, was great when I was a kid. Like, it was, like, traumatizing, but it was also kind of great.
This whole idea of, like, not only does he die, like, it's right after the whole raid on the Ocean Palace, you know, which is one of the best dungeons in any game ever. Holy shit, the fucking Ocean Palace music is, like, the pinnacle of like fucking rush in and infiltrate this place and like demolish everything in your path. Holy shit, I fucking love the Ocean Palace theme almost as much as I love the Shala's theme and the Antiquity theme. Oh my god, the Kingdom of Zeal has the best music. fucking go through you fucking go through all this. You get to the point where you fight Lavos, and this Lavos, the Lavos you fight at the end of the Ocean Palace, is technically beatable. He is the hardest Lavos in the game to beat because he just has an excruciating amount of HP. But you can beat him on New Game Plus. You can do it, but you're not supposed to. You do get a cool ending from it. I don't know which one it is. I don't know which one it is, but I know it's like one of the really, really unique ones. I can look it up and tell you afterwards. But the point is, you know, your party gets fucking wiped out, and you get the cool thing where Chrono like fucking drags his broken body up towards Lavos, you know, and he just keeps his sword out, and Lavos just straight up disintegrates him. And the anime cutscenes that are only in like the PS1 version and the DS version,
so good.
Which they don't show Chrono like dying heroically. He is scared and in pain as he dies.
No, it's amazing. Like the whole reason I'm kind of like, so, like part of the reason I'm so biased towards the PS1 version, even though like I know it's the inferior, like because it's got like sound issues, has some those bad load times. Those anime cutscenes, though, right?
Those fucking Toriyama anime cutscenes are so.
The OP for Chrono Trigger is so good. Like the original OP for the PS1 version is so goddamn good.
Oh
like
god,
that is part of the like. I think I bought Chrono. It's called the PS1 compilation is called Final Fantasy Chronicles, right?
Yeah, and it's got Final Fantasy like 4 or 5, I think.
It has Final Fantasy 4 and it has Chrono Trigger on it, right? I bought Chronicles back in the day for Final Fantasy 4 because at that point in my life, I had already played FF7 and I was kind of getting into like the beginning of like a curation sort of thing where I was like, okay, well, I like video games a lot. I should try to play older versions of these games that I really like to kind of see where they came. I was kind of at that age where I was like, where it wasn't just like, hey, video games. It's like, oh, I want to curate this medium that I enjoy, right?
Right.
I bought Chronicles for FF4. I did not buy it for Chrono Trigger. That's the craziest part. I actually played some of Final Fantasy IV before I even touched Chrono Trigger. I was like, I didn't even think I would play it because like I didn't know at the time that it was like one of the greatest video games ever made, right?
Right, of course.
I put it in out of curiosity one day. I was just like, okay, let's see what this game is about. And then that fucking anime cutscene fires up, and it's like Dragon Ball Z is shit, and I was still in love with that at the time. And it looked good, and it was exciting, and it had good music, and it had cool character designs, and I was like, fuck a Final Fantasy IV. Let's play Chrono Trigger for like a whole summer. Like, let's just play Chrono Trigger and have it eat my life. And yeah, so that's why I'm still biased toward like the PS1 version, because like those cutscenes are really good. They're rare, but they're good.
They're at the moments you want them to be at, and like the fact that like the Lavos, like the Chrono's death cutscene, like it recontextualized it for me, because like I was all under the impression like, you know, Chrono dies heroically. He does his final charge and he gives it his effort and he just dies, but like, man, he is hurting and scared, and even Magus looks horrified at watching him die.
Yeah, because he's like a little kid, and remember, Magus kind of went through like a whole incredibly traumatic childhood where he's like ripped away from his family and like has to grow up in like this fucked up world, right? So like,
you get that flashback to Jonas saying like, "The black winds howl, one among you will shortly perish." Oh, holy fuck, that's good!
So good!
Then you have to climb Death Mountain. You have to go to the fucking dilapidated wasteland of 2300 AD. You have to scale this frozen, like, tundra mountain. You know, and you fight Lavos Spawn the whole way up, and you finally get your chance to bring him back. And, oh, it's so good.
So satisfying, and it's just so like, and it's great to have to play as like other characters, because again, it kind of helps build this idea that like, that for one, again, any party config is valid, and two, that like everybody in your party matters, that it's not just like Chrono's story, but it's like a story about like all of these people coming together and agreeing to save the world kind of hand in hand. And like, that's amazing. How good is that?
It's so cool. Oh god.
It's so unique.
And then of course, like, after his death, you know, and your party just fucking gets wiped and you are arrested and you have to go through that whole thing in the Blackbird with no gear.
Oh my god, yes. It's so good. How
cool is that? And the fact that
gimmicks where it's like, it takes away from you. Oh man, it's so good.
If you have Ayla in your party, you can still fight because Ayla doesn't have a weapon. She only uses her fists, and that's so cool.
Man.
Oh my god. There is not a game like Chrono Trigger. It is a unique entity in of itself. Like, I mentioned it briefly, there's like RPGs that try to hark on it, and actually Cosmic Star Heroine is doing a really great job of like bringing that Chrono Trigger vibe in a different way. Like, it's not doing the same things that Chrono Trigger does, but like it's got that like kind of vibe and like overall feel to it.
A feeling of kind of like setting out on like a big adventure kind of
like
sensation.
The art style, the way the characters like fight and combat, like everyone having unique abilities and all that, it's cool. I mentioned a while ago a game called Black Sigil, and like a few weeks ago, which is a Chrono Trigger game that is very clearly inspired by Chrono Trigger for the DS. That's pretty good. It kind of scratches the itch, but not as well as the actual game itself, but it does a pretty good job anyway. But beyond that, like, a lot of the same thing we said about like Final Fantasy 12, you know, where it's like Square Enix has never done another game like this.
Yeah, there's nothing really like Chrono Trigger to there's stuff that kind of comes close and but nothing kind of scratches that feeling. Nothing kind of fulfills the sense of the scope and scale of this adventure that you're going on in the way that Chrono Trigger does, if that makes sense. Nothing kind of really... Chrono Trigger is a small game. It can be beaten in a very short amount of time, and yet it feels so big in comparison to other games because partly because it has multiple world maps. I mean, that alone kind of helps. Even though a lot of those world maps only have very small little portions that are explorable, just the fact that there are multiple versions of the world map gives you this illusion of a huge adventure. And sometimes that's all you need is the illusion. You don't necessarily need to make a big open world. You just have to have the illusion of openness.
You have to put in the unique parts of this world that make you really feel like you're going to different places, you know?
Right. And then your brain... Oh, go ahead.
Like, every town having different tile sets, every, like, environment having unique takes on, like, flora and fauna and all that is what really makes us stand out, you know? You go from these sort of, like, tropical jungles in 65 million BC to, you know, Midwestern or, like, European forests to, like, these, you know, heavy, thick trees to just ruinous, like, technology and just, like, these buildings that are just completely demolished and, like, drooping lampposts and all that. Like, that's what makes this game, like, makes these world maps feel so special and so big.
And then you have this sense of if you provide just enough information to the player, a few different tile sets, a different world map, even though there's only a few places on that world map that can actually be accessed. I mean, like 2300 AD only has like 5 locations that can actually enter in the world map. But all you have to do is provide a little bit, and your brain fills in the rest. You know, you start going, the rest of the world kind of starts filling itself out, and you don't have to, that's all you need. And it's kind of like, in a way, the way a book is superior in a lot of ways to a movie. Not all the time, but it's the same idea where the world you kind of build in your head will never be as rich on the screen as it was in your brain. The world of Chrono Trigger that you build in your brain is so rich because the creators are so, like, incredibly detail oriented that you fill in those details yourself. You fill in, like, the gaps yourself because they've given you enough information to work off of. And so you have a very small game that only takes a couple, 20 to 30, maybe 40 hours to beat, but feels like the biggest adventure you've ever been on in your life.
Yes, you absolutely nailed it. Oh my god!
So and that's what makes Chrono Trigger incredibly special. Is and it's the reason a lot of other JRPGs can't compare. Is it the sense of detail?
Everything that Chrono Trigger does is like they're almost like afraid to do it themselves. You know. Like, there's only one thing in all of Chrono Trigger that I think other JRPGs do that is missing, which, like, another one of those, like, I wish this was a norm thing, which is the idea of timed hits, which is introduced to Mario RPG, you know, the ability to, like, control how much damage you can do. If that is, like, the only flaw I have with Chrono Trigger. It is nearly perfect except for that one small little thing, but beyond that, like, everything you just said, like the scope, the detail, the design, these character animations, the unique, like, NPCs, the environments, the different levels of animation and stuff they can do, the reactions.
The reactiveness of the world is still incredibly unique to Chrono Trigger. Like, there are games like Persona 5, okay, that came out last year, does not have, and that's a game about, like, interacting with people and changing their worldviews and blah blah blah, and it doesn't have the degree of reactiveness that Chrono Trigger had 25 years ago. Exactly.
It's astounding.
That's what makes it so special. Yes.
That's the reason I can go back to this game for literal decades at this point and just keep playing it. If you have not played Chrono Trigger yet, you are doing yourself a disservice.
We didn't spoil a lot in the plot. I mean, we spoiled the big one with Chrono, but I mean, like, it's fine, whatever. It's been 25 years. Play the game.
that you are doing yourself a disservice. If you were a fan of video games, play Chrono Trigger. I'm not even being the least bit hyperbolic. Play it.
One of the best games ever made. You have to play it if you like video games at all. And yeah, it's Chrono Trigger. Well, I mean, like, that's it. All you have to say is, like, it's Chrono Trigger. You know? So. And we'll probably come back to this conversation topic when we do eventually talk about Chrono Cross.
When we do Chrono Cross, there'll be some more Chrono Trigger talk, for sure. But I think for now, I am basically tapped out.
Are you good? Did you get all your theorizing out?
Yes, I got most of it out anyway. Like, the rest will be like I'll, like, bother you tomorrow about, like, oh, I forgot to mention, blah, 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 blah.
Just put it on Twitter. Just, like, at me on Twitter, and we can shout at each other more there. Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah. So thanks to Broke Free for our background music. You can follow us on iTunes at the Gorge, or on Twitter at the Gorge Podcast. We're also on iTunes. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, we're on Twitter at the Gorge Podcast. You can email us at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. Sarah has another thing where she plays RPGs, but they're on pen and paper, and she'll tell you about that now.
Hey, I'm in another podcast with a bunch of really cool friends. It's called Big Gay Nerds. Me and some buddies, we get together, we play different pen and paper RPGs. We try out different systems every month. Right now they're playing some kind of Warhammer or something, I think. I'm not in this one, but I'll be in the next one. So yeah, check us out. We're at Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud, and you can find the links to the rest of our social media stuff from there. Thanks.
Awesome. So that'll do it for us. Man, fuck Dalton.
Fuck Dalton. We didn't really get into it, but seriously, but it's just because he's such, like, a goon. Fuck Dalton. Like, that is, after all of this time, you know, I've forgotten some stuff about Chrono Trigger that, like, you haven't really, but, like, even to this day, I'm still like, whatever. Fuck Dalton.
A prick. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.